Hare Krishna, welcome to all the devotees in today's session of the Secrets of Bhagavad Gita. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadandikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare सभी का स्वागत है. Today we are going to discuss Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text number 45. Let us start. त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदा निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjun, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results, which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deal mostly with fruity activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. It's a very important point. So, Vedas mostly deal with the uh, activities that are within the jurisdiction of three modes of material nature. So, in other words, uh, the activities that have been prescribed or described in the Vedas are mainly dealing with sanctification and gradually leading people to self-realization. So, and because these activities uh, mostly uh, are in relation to sanctification, it is said that they are within the three modes of material nature, and in that way, Vedas are also dealing with the modes of material nature for the most part. That is the understanding. Next, Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Jitnyasa or questions on the supreme transcendence. So, Arjuna, being friend and devotee of Lord Krishna, has been advised to follow the path of Nishkama Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, particularly in the context of Karma Yoga. Arjuna has been advised to perform his duty without any attachment to the results. Though Arjuna may be uh, having some attachment to his relatives, however, as a Kshatriya, he is supposed to execute his duty, and he should do so without any expectation of results, or in other words, without uh, any attachment to the results. So thereby, he Arjun would be gradually situated in the transcendence or self-realization. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. So all living entities who have taken birth in this material existence and or in the material world are uh, bound with the material desires, and that is their material bondage. There is nothing like some rope or something, some invisible waves that are uh, binding us here. It is our own material desires that are the cause of our bondage. And one may question why or how we are uh, bound by these material desires. So the answer is that that is ignorance on part of conditioned souls who think that by fulfilling their material desires they can be happy. So material desires means to think in terms of body, material body. So to identify oneself as some material body or uh, the creator or the enjoyer of everything, that's a false identification. And to facilitate such a false identification, Lord Krishna has arranged material nature to provide us the different types of bodies, material bodies, so that jiva, who is in ignorant state of life, can gradually come to understand that he is not this material body. Uh, uh, though he chose to have a material body and think himself as the enjoyer of everything, but after all, he is different from the material body, and he is supposed to jiva is supposed to follow the path of uh, yoga, and thereby gradually doubting his material desires on the path of dharma, he can come to the platform of knowledge or self purification. So that is the intention throughout Bhagavad Gita. So or any yoga process. Next, when the activities for sense gratification, namely the karma kand chapter, are finished, then the chance for self-realization is offered in the form of Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. So, in the beginning, it is not possible to simply get rid of material desires. So, though we may understand it theoretically that material desires are the cause of our bondage, however, it is practically impossible to immediately get rid of those material desires and come to the platform of self realization. And this is where most of the people in the world they make a mistake. They think that if very rare people are interested in spiritual life, however, out of those Manushyanam Sahasreshu, so out of those, uh, many people think that now they understood that material desires are the cause of bondage, and now they must get rid of them. But it so happens that they cannot do so immediately because uh, we have cultivated these material desires for a long, long time, and it has become our habit to always think in terms of fulfilling material desires and thereby becoming happy. So that is our uh, that's our strong impressions in our consciousness, and because we have that strong impressions in our consciousness, it is very difficult to immediately change that consciousness and come to Krishna consciousness. So that is why it has been advised that one should practice Nishkam Karma Yoga, he should, perform his prescribed duties, he can have his material desires fulfilled, and at the same time he should give the offer the results of his prescribed duties to Lord Krishna and gradually get purified. So that is the way to purify oneself. If one does not recognize that he cannot get purified immediately, and he must take the path of Nishkam Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, then we can expect that there will be a havoc in his spiritual life, because spiritual life is very sublime process, and it has been glorified in the Upanishads, because it has been mentioned here that Vedas mostly deal with activities related to sanctification and gradually promoting to knowledge of the self. So this knowledge of the self has been described in Upanishads, and Bhagavad, Bhagavad Gita is also called Upanishad, uh, which comes in the Mahabharata. So Mahabharata is considered a fifth Veda or Panchama Veda, and because it is considered a part of fifth Veda, so Gita, Bhagavad Gita is also considered Upanishad because Upanishads are basically parts of Vedas. And Mahabharata is also part of Mahabharata is considered fifth Veda, and because Bhagavad Gita is the part of uh, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita is considered Upanishad. So there is a logical way we can understand how Bhagavad Gita is Upanishad. Okay. Next, the Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. So before beginning to study Bhagavad Gita or any Upanishads, uh, generally we say that all other activities related to dharma are mainly dealing with sanctification, uh, like fulfilling uh, artha and kama. Artha means our economic development, and kama means sense gratification, but through the process of dharma, or that dharma includes uh, the aspects of uh, giving in charity and following the principles or moral principles of the Vedas, and gradually practicing the jnana part of Upanishad in a parallel line, so that when uh, one will gradually be elevated to a stage where he will be able to see the difference between material body and spirit soul. So in India, any average person knows that he is not this body, he is spirit soul. It's not a uh, uh, such a surprising thing for an average Indian person. However, how many of them can actually practice what they say? So speaking is one thing, but realizing is another thing. And because uh, we have many material desires, and even though may not be cultivating material desires, but still because we we had a practice of fulfilling material desires, so it is not possible to immediately give up that mentality, and that is why uh, Vedas prescribe that we perform our prescribed duties. Prescribed duties means the activities mentioned in terms of varna and ashrama. Prescribed duty means dharma. So if you follow dharma, then then automatically we get artha and kama, and along with that we have to practice the elements of moksha. So in grahastha jivan, for example, we perform many activities, many dharmas, which are related to moral principles, and many of them are dealing with artha and kama. However, there are also parts of knowledge here and there. For example, in marriage ceremony. So in marriage ceremony, we hear Veda mantras. We also hear many kathas from Puranas. So, though the whole ceremony uh, may appear like something a festival of enjoyment, however, there is also sacredness in that environment, uh, and all in the same marriage ceremony. Um, there is the Upadesham or instructions on how to lead a Grahastha life. So priests are supposed to explain that how they should, though by generation they are supposed to know. Those are going to get married, they are supposed to know what they have to do. But however, at that time of marriage ceremony, there is operation, and so all these things are put together by Vedas so that we can gradually cultivate knowledge along with our sense gratification. So we cannot immediately stop sense gratification. For example, if you are asked to give up, say, sweets or any favorite uh, favorite any what to say uh, item that we like, food item. So it may not be possible to give it up immediately. And actually, there is no any need to give it up. The only thing that has to be given up is our attachment to it. So, uh, so we have to cultivate that detachment by uh, dovetailing all our activities, whether spiritual or material, in the on the path of yoga. So that is yoga, which purifies our propensities. The other karma kanda part. Karma kanda means there is no connection with God or the transcendence. So the whole purpose is to fulfill our material desires. So then that is considered uh, uh, a failure, because even if we perform our prescribed duties properly, but if the connection is not with God, then everything becomes useless. So there are people, we see many people who are karma kandis, and they are so much interested into performing various samskaras, various karmas. However, they are least interested in spiritual practices or self-realization. So they may, uh, by lip service, appreciate the need of self-realization, but they do not engage themselves those in that practice. So that is why uh, we have to understand this point, that though we may be having material desires, or we may be having the impressions of material desires, however, uh, we should not just artificially think that now we have given up material desires and we have become trans, transcendental. So though we may know the goal, that we have to become attached to Krishna to the extent that we even forget ourselves. But that is our goal. However, it does not happen overnight. So for that, we need to engage our propensities on the path of dharma by performing our prescribed duties, and even uh, in Nishkam Karma Yoga, we offer the results to Lord Krishna. In Bhakti Yoga, we perform both activities and results to Lord Shri Krishna. So that is how we purify ourselves. So why this is important to understand this particular point, because if we artificially think ourselves elevated to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, then this may give rise to our a sahaja propensity. Sahaja propensity means uh, person is not on the platform of spiritual elevation, but he artificially thinks himself as such. And what happens, because material desires, uh, when material desires haunt such people, then they uh, cannot resist themselves from not fulfilling those material desires, and they fall down on the path of sense gratification again and again. Just like there are many sahaja in the Vrindavan, so they uh, sing of Radha Krishna's names, and they narrate so many pastimes. But we see their characters. Many of them are addicted to sense gratification, drinking alcohol or drinking tobacco and cigarettes, and so many things. Some of them are even attached to illicit sex. So this is all monkey business. So monkeys, they are also very renunciant. They appear to be renunciant because they do not wear any clothes. However, because they are not practicing spiritual life, they are not situated on the on the spiritual life. So their business is only sanctification. So such a simply outward show of spiritual life is not for our benefit, and that is why we must recognize our own situation. Generally, traditionally, uh, the advice is that first of all, a person, anyone who is born into this material world, except Shudra, there's Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya. So all should go to Gurukula. Nowadays, everything is mixed, so it's better everyone should attend Gurukula and or Gurukula or at least practice Brahmacharya in their life. In the beginning phase of life, they must practice Brahmacharya, and after that, the the general advice is that unless there is some very exceptional case or if one is highly uh, determined for spiritual life, he should take up a grahastha life and practice Krishna consciousness. And even if somebody is a uh, highly interested in spiritual life, he can also remain a grahastha. There is nothing. Uh, the grahastha life is not going to stop anyone from practicing Krishna consciousness. So there is nothing wrong in that. Nowadays, we see that many uh, sincere practitioners, many devotees, they take up bhakti yoga, but prematurely. So when they see that they are actually not on that platform, then they, after some time, they realize that now they have to give it up. So they again take the path of sense gratification. They get attached to women, they get attached to wealth, and just on the name of renunciant life, they are accumulating more wealth and associating with women more than they would have done in a grahast life. So that is more sinful. So that's why the safe path is that one should recognize one's situation, and even there is a little doubt, then he must not artificially pose himself as an advanced spiritualist. He should just take up the life of regulatory sense gratification. That means a life of grihastha, and gradually come to the vanprastha ashram and then sannyas if it is applicable. Otherwise, most of people take vanprastha life. Okay. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. So this has to be attitude in life, that we have to perform our prescribed duty without any expectation of loss or gain. So this mentality will help us elevate towards the platform of knowledge or self-realization. So that's why we see that uh, old people, they would say, "Oh, that is your dharma, so you must do it." So though we may have attachment, for example, uh, someone husband dies at early age, so generally the traditional society would advise that widow to become more spiritual in uh, for her rest of life. So they would counsel her that okay, it's your prarabdham, that's your uh, bhagyam, that bad fortune. So whatever it may be, that's we have to now just tolerate it and just become a spiritual person. So it's not that nowadays what we do that okay, now my husband died uh, at early age, so now I must fulfill my material desires anyway by even remarriage or this and that, and sometimes they get married to another divorces, and like things are happening like this. So uh, now people, because people are not on that platform of human beings, so sometimes uh, it becomes unavoidable to simply not get remarried. So that is also another thing. However, the real point that is that we have to, a- as long as our material desires can be doubted on the path of dharma, we can accommodate those material desires. However, if any chance or by providence it does not happen, then we should simply tolerate it. That okay, our material desire did not get fulfilled, no problem. Still, we will follow dharma. We will follow our dharma, and the highest dharma is becoming Krishna consciousness or the spiritual life. So that has to be the goal of life. Otherwise, all these things are there's all fulfilling our material desire is simply sense gratification. It's a business of cats and dogs. Nothing surprising in that. So let's not get so much enamored by the idea of sense gratification. Anyway, animals, they also have their unique features of sense gratification. Even, in fact, they have more facilities for sense gratification than the human beings. They don't have to work hard like us to get married. Actually, they don't even don't have to get married. So and yes, they have more facilities. So we are actually inferior to them in the matter of sense gratification. Okay, this transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the good will of Krishna. So we have to tolerate our material desires, and as much as possible, uh, we should dowtel those material desires in Krishna consciousness or on the path of dharma, and depend on the will of Lord. That's why we say that Bali yasi kevalam ishwarecha. So whatever happens in our life, we respect the will of the Lord and just practice our Krishna consciousness, our spiritual life. We do not lament for days and months and months. So okay, whatever has happens to us in our life, it's that's due to our past karma. So we should simply accept it and be satisfied with our Krishna consciousness. Okay, I'll stop here. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्ण थैंक यू